A very good afternoon to you, Diabo, and to our viewers at home. You're right. Minister Gwede Mantashe's speech here was the most anticipated, looking at the fact that most of the delegates that have gathered here have not had an opportunity to really see the minister face to face at this engagement in about 2-3 years. So this engagement coming to you as a physical, engagement for this year, just after that COVID-19 hiatus. So most of them are just looking forward to what the minister was presenting here. So Minister Gwede Mantashe just frank about where we find ourselves as South Africa and where we find ourselves as the African continent, where the energy crisis is concerned. Today, just talking about the issue of renewable energy as well, saying that there is a potential to look into the renewable energy space, talking about coal. If you can remember that South Africa is exporting coal to countries like Mozambique, your Namibia, your Lesotho. So they are depending on that, and they're also looking at the fact that also South Africa is a source in terms of electricity to those African countries. So here they are here to just look into what South Africa is doing to mitigate and address some of those issues that are emanating from the energy crisis. But the minister just frank to say that there's still a long way to go, dear, about looking at the fact that as we speak right now, me and you, there are countries that don't have even electricity at all to just start fixing. Others are talking about fixing, introducing and moving with the just energy transition, but the solutions are still needed for those that are not experiencing this energy at all in their countries. But Minister Gwede Mantashe talking at length about the renewable energies, specifically coal, and some of the solutions that can come out of this engagement. Let's just take a listen to what he said earlier on, Diabo.
Africa is underdeveloped, but it is a rich continent. We have a responsibility to deal with that issue. We must therefore work together and mobilize financial support to solve Africa energy challenges, which include lack of infrastructure. We must expand our grid capacity to enable additional connection and transmission. This will enable Africa to generate enough electricity to power its economies, including industrialization, manufacturing, and processing of its natural resources.
Well, Diabo, when we look at also what has been happening here on day one of this event has seen a lot of, dignitaries and some of the officials from the African continent just looking at those solutions. But it was disrupted earlier on, Diabo, when we saw members of Greenpeace, activists taken to the podium when the minister was addressing the crowd gathered here, just to say that they need Minister Gwede Mantashe to ensure that the issue of coal is phased away with. They're talking about the issues of just how coal has been pushing the pollution, and they're saying that at this point in time they don't think that as we move to try and find solution, coal should be one that we look into. But that Minister Gwede Mantashe just taking us into confidence to say that there need to be research that is accompanied by some of the concerns that are raised, saying that we find ourselves in an unprecedented time as we speak right now. So all hands should be on deck, and it really would be a missed opportunity if we do away with coal altogether. But I want you to listen in on what he said, also just addressing some of those people that are gathered here on some of the solutions that are needed, because as we speak right now, most of the countries not taking the fact that South Africa is losing about 1.5 to 4 billion rand daily as we see this load shedding persist. But let's listen to what he said further when he tried to explain really the solutions that can come out of this engagement.
Main cause of load shedding is not renewables, is not shortage thereof, is the suboptimal operation of coal generating power stations. And ESCOM must actually accelerate the optimal operation of those. 6 of our power stations give us electricity availability factor of less than 50%. And that is where the source of load shedding is. And we must address it as this community. This community is important to society. This community is important to the economy. And we must just take that responsibility head on and appreciate it.
Minister Mantashe there, Diabo, just being frank about where we find ourselves as South Africa right now with this issue of the rolling blackouts, but just looking at solutions coming through from the Minister of Electricity that was installed yesterday. He'll actually be sworn in this afternoon, but he was saying that ministry, it was a strategic move from President Cyril Ramaphosa just to find solutions around the energy crisis. That minister that is going to be installed, Minister, I guess, Dr. Hosientu Ramokgopa, will be inundated with the work of ensuring that these men and women that are gathered here are given some sort of security around what we are doing as a country to mitigate, because most of them are really dependent on South Africa getting it right, so that other countries that are dependent on the exports and imports of energy from and into the country can actually be at ease, knowing that there are solutions coming out of this country. Diabo?
Thank you so much, Katlego. Who else do you have on your lineup for the rest of the day? I know that there's a lot of role players there in the energy space. Who will you be speaking to later on during today?
Well, we'll be taking you to the African continent, Diabo, just looking into some of those solutions coming from some of the countries that have gathered here. Most of them are getting it right in terms of getting the energy supply, not hampering on the business and the day-to-day economies of their nations. So we'll speak to Mozambique later on. We'll also bring in the Development Bank of South Africa and also trying to understand where are the monies going to come from, looking at these solutions that we're talking about. These solutions are not just talk shop. They need to be funded, most of them, for us to get it right. So we'll be interacting with some of the role players as we go into the afternoon to ensure that we give you blow-by-blow coverage of what is happening at the first day of the Africa Mining Indaba.